What's up guys, Lord Hassan here, back with another camera comparison video between two equally priced and borderline spec'd mid-range phones. On one end, we've got the Samsung Galaxy A52 and on the other end, we've got the Oppo Reno 5. I already have the Oppo Reno 5 full review video up on my channel and I'll leave it linked right below that like button if you haven't watched it yet. If you're wondering why I picked these two phones for camera comparison, well, it's for a couple of reasons. Mainly because one, they both retail at the same price range with the base model at around $340 and the decked out spec going for around $380 to $400. Two, they have bordering same camera specs, and three, Samsung and Oppo have respectively advertised these two phones as the smartphone cameras to get in the mid-range market. Okay, we're gonna see just what they meant and what these cameras have to offer. Before we start, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you're notified whenever I make an upload. Cheers. Let's start with the camera design aspects of both phones. The Galaxy A52 has this sticky outie type of camera module where all the lenses are flush within the camera module, compared to the Oppo Reno 5 whose lenses stick out of the camera module. They also have the same L-shaped layout lens, with the Oppo Reno 5 boldly stating that it's got a 64 megapixel lens, while the A52 prefers to keep things more low-key. The action starts with the ultra-wide samples from each phone. Something worth mentioning here is that the 12 megapixel Galaxy A52 ultra-wide camera sports a 123 degree field of view compared to the 8 megapixel 119 degree field of view on the Reno 5. Ultra-wide shots manage to fit a ton of objects in frame, and both phones do a good job capturing detail of the scene and bringing out objects and dynamic range. Though in terms of color saturation and contrast, I'd say max points go to the Reno 5, as seen in how it makes the colors in a shot like this pop. In that regard, there are shots like this where the Reno 5, in a bid to make colors and everything pop, really oversaturated bits of the subject, making the subject look artificial. This is with beauty mode turned off. Pretty interesting. That did prove to be an issue with the Reno 5 in other scenarios that didn't have a human subject in frame. Example, this one here. The A52 kept the haze on the fence nicely green and natural, while the Reno 5 washed out the haze. Crazy. One thing stands out though, and that is color temperature difference in both phones. The Reno 5 settles for a warm tone in its photos compared to the Galaxy A52 that went for a cooler tone in its shots. In landscape shots, the Galaxy A52 really starts to stretch out its legs, especially in dynamic range. I mean, look at what it does to the sky. Impressive stuff. Color accuracy stayed on point, nothing was too saturated, and clarity was top notch. These are photos you can easily zoom into without losing detail. Epic stuff. Switching to matters wide angle shots. First, let's talk about a drastic color temperature, color science issue with the Reno 5. Stick with me here. Look at how it drastically changes colors when you shift the frame to a certain angle. In this angle, the grass is green. The phone even picks up the different greener grass carpet. Point it to the ground and the grass is turned to a dull shade of green. Put a subject in front of the camera and it adjusts itself to the right green color. This was quite a shocking phenomenon, and upon further investigation, I deduced that the color shift is being attributed to the camera's AI. As long as there's something in front of the camera, it will adjust accordingly for the shot. All the same, it's something Oppo should look into and fix in a future software update. For the most part, when a subject is in the shot, color temperature is the same on both lenses, and both do handle a ton of light surprisingly well. Wide angle shots are pleasing to look at, colors are accurate, clarity is nothing short of amazing, and dynamic range is fantastic. Again, the Reno 5 did add a little bit more contrast and saturation to the colors to make them pop. We can also see how the Reno 5 is really cleaning up any blemish in the photos in post-image processing. This made me question if beauty mode was really turned all the way off even after I manually set it off. I mean, look at the skin texture difference in both samples. I overall just like how the Galaxy A52 keeps things natural. In the same regard, I noticed the Reno 5 exposed the photos a bit more to make the colors pop, and that might have led to the photos losing a bit of highlight, as seen in this photo here, where the outfit the subject is wearing really pops, but we lose dynamic range in the hedge behind her, the hearts, and the sky. All that said, color temperature is the same in landscape shots like this and consistent all through. This is expected since both phones do sport a similar 64 megapixel main wide camera. While we're here, we might as well talk about the 64 megapixel samples. This is basically where everything is turned up and the phones use every ounce of that 64 megapixel lens to take photos. The upside, image quality is superb, epic, sharp and detailed to say the least, and the downside is maybe file size and the occasional stutter and lengthy image processing time. Such photos allow you to crop into the subject without losing any detail, and here we can see the Oppo Reno 5 change in terms of dynamic range and color temperature. It also beats the Galaxy A52 in terms of dynamic range, as seen in how the A52 blew up the sky in the background. Both phones lack a dedicated telephoto zoom lens, so they rely on the individual 64 megapixel cameras to zoom in, digitally working out the focal perspectives. Both phones can thus only zoom in up to 10x and not more. Past 4x, things start to get shaky for the Galaxy A52 and really needs stable hands to get a good usable shot, while the Reno 5 will start getting shaky past 5x. At 10x, you get pictures like this, and I don't think you can use such photos anywhere. The sweet spot for these phones is 2x. At 2x, everything is sharp, clear, and there's this naturally occurring bokeh effect in the pictures. Really nice stuff. Also, there's times where both phones either underexposed the photo or washed out the whole frame as they try to digitally define the object that stood out in frame. On the A52, this could pass as a color temperature shift, but the Reno 5, that was not the case. It just washed out the shot. Friendly advice, if you want to get the best, most consistent zoom shots, use a tripod. In portrait mode, the Samsung Galaxy A52 and the Oppo Reno 5 rely on a 5 megapixel depth sensor and a 2 megapixel depth sensor respectively to map out the edges of the subject. After the portrait shot has been taken, we do notice a slight delay in image processing as both phones set up or clean up the blur, and in the case of the A52, set the dynamic range accurately. I still have this issue with how the Oppo Reno 5 really cleans up the photos. This shouldn't happen with beauty mode turned off. Also, sometimes in bright scenarios, the Galaxy A52 completely flops with taking the portrait shot. All the same, they do take some solid portrait shots and they do allow you to play around with the background blur in post. Before you go on, if you're enjoying this video, a sub to the channel would be mega. These videos take a while to put together, so I'd appreciate the support. Night mode. First is to mention that these hair pics were taken with all phones on a tripod and all phones support night mode from different focal perspectives. They will also take night mode selfies, though let's face it, would you really pull out your phone at night in the dark to take a night mode selfie? Pretty sure you won't, so let's constrain this to the rear cameras. The Reno 5 exposes the photo longer when taking it, but still doesn't reach the A52's level of clarity and detail at 5 seconds of exposure. However, the A52 did need a second or two before you could snap another night mode shot, while the Reno 5 just kept going and going. Also, there's this gimmick I noticed with the Reno 5, the so-called ultra dark mode ability. In my experience, it doesn't do much different and is basically just normal night mode, nothing special. Both phones can shoot some great video and max out at 4K 30 FPS. Like so, on both phones. So back to 1x. Stability is looking really good so far. Agnes, you've got jokes?
Yeah, I got plenty. What do you call a fish without eyes?
I don't know. Get out of here. Let's move on to the selfies, and this is where major differences start to show up. First, the Oppo Reno 5 doesn't support selfies in different perspectives as does the A52. The A52 can shoot ultra-wide and wide selfies. Secondly, here is where the beauty effect of the photos really shows up. Color temperature and exposure also varied between the two phones. The Reno 5 did slightly overexpose selfies, and that led to warmer tones in the picture compared to the Galaxy A52. The Galaxy A52 did a good job with portrait selfies compared to the Reno 5. Edges were mapped out properly, exposure was in check, the background blur was spot on in the A52 samples compared to the Reno 5 samples, which blew out the background, had an even blur, and sometimes had the blur spilling into the subject. There's times where both phones struggle to take a good shot, especially in bright sunlight. While talking about selfies, here are high megapixel selfie samples. The A52, 32 megapixel samples, and the Reno 5, 44 megapixel selfies. Here are front-facing video samples from both phones. The Galaxy A52. Agnes, get out of the way. So Agnes is right in front of me.
No, because I got some good jokes.
So
I got some fire jokes.
wait for your turn, okay? As I was saying, this is the Galaxy A52 on this right side, and this is the Oppo Reno 5 on my other side. From this perspective, the Reno 5 is shooting from an ultra-wide angle, while the A52 has cropped in on the face in wide mode. And when I turn, both phones are really struggling with exposure.
So let's bring this home, yeah? What's happening here and how? Both phones perform to merit as expected from the respective price points, and at times even surpassed merit, so that's a good thing. Yes, both phones did also fumble in some areas, some not expected, some were once in a while isolated issues, some were consistent errors, example the color shifting issue in the Reno 5, and some were straight up annoying like the beauty mode that doesn't fully turn off on the Reno. The Galaxy A52 did let me down when it came to shutter lag. The phone deadass can't take continuous shots back to back, and I found that frustrating. Another issue I came across with the Reno 5 is its user interface needs to be revamped. Yes, it's good, it's functional and works, but it feels dated now. As for the image quality and disparities, I deduced that most of it came down to individual camera software and the processing occurring on either phone's processors. The AI in the Oppo Reno 5 is tweaked to really brighten stuff up, to make colors pop, and sometimes it doesn't know when to not make colors pop, and so we end up with artificial looking photos. On the other hand, Samsung's AI Scene Optimizer does a better job at identifying a scene and optimizing the colors to bring out the detail, clarity of the photo while keeping the colors accurate and subjects natural. Samsung also allows you to turn beauty mode all the way off, which Oppo don't. All that put together begs a couple of questions. Which phone is for who, and did Samsung and Oppo falsely advertise these two phones? Well, go for the Galaxy A52 if you're looking for maximum control over your shots, a consistent AI, better color science and accuracy and precision in certain scenarios, example portrait mode. The A52 also allows you to take 4K front-facing video that the Oppo can't. Go for the Oppo Reno 5 if you want a better looking, more palatable camera design, a funkier camera setup, a different camera interface design, more pop in your photos if you don't mind the beauty modes, faster and consistent image processing with zero shutter lag, and a ton of features like the inbuilt video editor, so loop, dual video, AI mix portrait, etc. I also feel like Oppo capped the Reno 5 by not giving it 4K front-facing video capability when that 44 megapixel camera can do 4K video. Do let me know what your pick is down in the comments below. That said, please like this video and share it with your friends, subscribe if you haven't yet, and let me catch you in the next one.